Introducing the 2020-4 Schrödinger release. Let's take a look at some of the new features and enhancements. In Maestro, we see the introduction of the Workflow Action menu. Shown on a small number of supported groups at first, the Workflow Action menu acts as a mini version of the Task menu with a collection of recommended application panels for the group. Take, for example, the Pose Viewer results from docking. Here we have quick access to view poses, or a collection of other analysis and post-processing panels, such as clustering, and access to next step panels that will feed the group as input into another panel, such as FEP+. The Workflow Action menu provides instant clarity on what actions to take when results are incorporated, whether data should be reviewed by analysis-specific panels or used as input for subsequent application panels as part of a multi-step workflow. Expect to see more Workflow Action menus on data over the course of future releases. Improvements have been made to Maestro's ligand detection preferences. Here, one can now make the selected workspace molecule to be considered a ligand in case it is not detected automatically. And over in the project table, it's now possible to export the data to an Excel spreadsheet, including the option to export the 2D images if appropriate. In 2020-4, we see the beta release of the Active Learning Glide docking panel. Active Learning Glide is designed to dock ultra-large libraries of billions of compounds using a combination of machine learning and glide ligand docking, where instead of screening the entire library with high-precision docking, which would be too costly both in time and money, Active Learning Glide incorporates active learning to train AutoQSAR DeepChem models and enrich the number of ligands for docking. As shown here, to screen 1.2 billion compounds with Active Learning Glide, in which 1 million compounds are rescored with docking, time to completion is measured in days as opposed to using a brute force approach which would take several years with the same computing resources. To learn more, check out the Active Learning Glide presentation from our recent Summer of Science webinar series. See links in the description. Now over in the standard glide ligand docking panel, one can now specify shape constraints based on the shape of a reference ligand or the shape of part of the reference ligand. Over in the Ligand Designer, support for 3D editing has improved. Now within the one workflow, you can design your way using the 3D Builder or 2D Sketcher, and then predict the pose after making the changes. Also in the Ligand Designer, for any given ligand in the workspace, one can quickly review a list of the top 10 similar purchasable compounds and with the option to predict their poses. This feature leverages the same FP-Sim GPU technology as the standalone panel and searches the same collection of public databases. In the FEP Plus panel, users now have the option to calculate absolute binding free energies for non-covalent ligand receptor complexes. This includes full support for job setup and analysis, including simulation interaction diagrams, PDF reports, viewing representative structures and trajectories, and exporting absolute binding free energy data to Live Design. Over in the new and improved Residue Scanning Viewer panel, we see a new option to send selected mutations directly to FEP Protein Mutation panel for further verification. Over in the new Multiple Sequence Viewer, when performing homology modeling, there is now an option to move gaps and optimize the alignment at the binding site after a full sequence alignment. Also, a much faster and more accurate antibody detection module has been leveraged by the Select Sequences by Feature menu. Here, it can detect and select heavy or light chains, ideal for processing short lists of binders from a sequencing run. Among the QM panels, we see improvements to Jaguar pKa. Now, to make selecting the pKa atoms more transparent, one can explicitly pick the protons to be removed, or pick the atoms to add a proton to. In the QM Conformer and Tautomer Predictor panel, one can now generate and score ring chain tautomers. While in other Jaguar QM panels, we see the addition of 6 new DFT Functionals. These are just some of the new features and enhancements in the 2020-4 Schrödinger release. As always, for a complete list of new features, visit schrödinger.com/new features.